We're happy to have you here, whether you're joining in person or online. We hope you'll continue to participate in whichever manner you feel most comfortable. I'd like to highlight that in addition to our business tonight as a City Council, we will also have some business items in our roles as the Local Building Authority and the Community Reinvestment Agency Board. Thank you. First, we'd invite you to please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you all. We are now at item A3, approving the meeting minutes of May 7th, 2024, May 21st, 2024, June 4th, 2024, and June 11th, 2024.
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Pui. I'll give the second to Councilmember Dugan. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. We will now move on to unfinished business. As the Local Building Authority, we're at item B1 regarding a resolution for tentative budget for the Capital Projects Fund of the Local Building Authority for fiscal year 25-26. I'll look for a motion.
Chair, I move that the council approve a resolution adopting the tentative budget for the Capital Projects Fund of the Local Building Authority of Salt Lake City, Utah for fiscal year 25-26.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilwoman Lopez Chavez, a second from Councilmember Dugan. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. This concludes our Local Building Authority meeting. I will ask for a motion to adjourn as the Local Business Authority and to convene as the Salt Lake City Community Reinvestment Agency Board. I'll look for a motion.
Chair, so moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilwoman Lopez Chavez and a second from Dugan. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes, and we are now convened as the Community Reinvestment Agency Board. We are at CRA unfinished business item D1 regarding a resolution for the tentative budget for the Community Reinvestment Agency of Salt Lake City for fiscal year 25-26. I'll look for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that the board approve a resolution adopting the tentative budget for the CRA, Community Reinvestment Agency of Salt Lake City, Utah for fiscal year 25-26.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Pui and a second from Mono. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. This concludes our CRA board meeting. I will ask for a motion to adjourn as the Community Reinvestment Agency Board and to convene as the Salt Lake City Council.
Move to adjourn the Community Reinvestment Agency meeting and to convene as the Salt Lake City Council meeting.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Pui and a second from Wharton. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. We are now finally convened as the Salt Lake City Council. So, thank you again to everyone who is joining us tonight. Before we move through the agenda, I want to quickly go through registration information and our rules and standards for public meetings. We welcome everyone. The council's goal is to make the meetings a place where people feel safe and comfortable participating in their government. We invite everyone to help make this a welcoming space. A respectful and safe environment allows us to conduct the meeting in an orderly and efficient way. Our most basic rule is that any action that causes a disruption to our ability to conduct the meeting or any safe concern involving threats or unprotected speech are not allowed. These actions or comments may result in removal from the meeting. As a reminder of our public comment registration process, individuals may register to comment on scheduled public hearing items until that hearing is closed. For the general comment section, we will accept signups until 7:30 p.m. The general comment section is limited to a maximum of 1 hour and will only include commenters who registered before 7:30. So if you are here to give general comments, please sign up and remember that it is possible not everyone who signed up may be able to speak. This brings us now to item F2, which is approving the work session meeting minutes of February 18th, 2025, March 4th, 2025, and April 15th, 2025, as well as the formal meeting minutes of March 25th, 2025, and April 15th, 2025. I'll look for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Dugan and a second from Councilwoman Lopez Chavez. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Next, Mayor Mendenhall will present this proposed Salt Lake City budget, including the library fund, for fiscal year 2025-26. Welcome, Mayor, and the floor is yours.
Is that better? Okay. Thank you, City Council, and thank you also for excusing my hoarse voice this evening, as my voice just came back. Good evening, council members, council staff, our city team, and my fellow Salt Lakers. Thank you all for being here tonight or tuning in from home as I present my recommended budget for the upcoming 2026 fiscal year. This is my 6th budget proposal, but in many ways it feels like the first of its kind since the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic. Much like our 2021 fiscal year budget, this year's budget proposal is shaped by economic uncertainty, not just for our residents here in the city, but far beyond. Stock markets are volatile. Prices are increasing. Tariffs are fluctuating. The consumer sentiment index is in decline. And yet, despite all this, incredible things are happening right here in our city. We are doubling down on our commitments to public safety. We're strengthening our infrastructure. We are continuing historic investments in affordable housing. And I can say with confidence that this budget proposal allows these efforts to continue steadily, reliably, and responsibly. But this proposal also reflects the reality our residents are living every day. It reflects the uncertainty of our small businesses who aren't sure if they'll be able to retain their hardworking staff at the wages they deserve. It reflects the strain on our working parents who balance increasing childcare costs on top of everything else in their households. It reflects the pressure on our local restaurants who find themselves grappling with skyrocketing expenses. This is a landscape that has demanded our utmost care and attention during the budgeting process. And I'm proud to say that no uncertainty will prevent this city from doing what we do best, taking care of our residents and keeping them safe, taking care of our streets and our infrastructure, and taking care of our own employees. This proposal is prudent and sensible, built with discipline at each and every level. And to be transparent with you, it is a nearly entirely flat budget because I am committed to not increasing the burden our residents are already feeling due to federal pressures and global economic headwinds. This year, I am proposing a general fund budget of $512,471,524. This is a 6.7 increase from last year's adopted general fund budget. I recognize that that 6.7% may sound like a significant increase, especially in a budget that I have just described as nearly flat. But it's important to be clear, this increase is driven almost entirely by inflation and the rising cost of maintaining the services and the infrastructure we already have. In practical terms, this budget maintains our baseline, only expanding when it comes to key public safety investments. Importantly, there are no major tax increases in this balanced budget, including no property tax increase. However, as I have said before in previous budget presentations, we have known for some time that a property tax adjustment will eventually be necessary. This year, thanks to careful budgeting and many difficult decisions, we've been able to avoid it. Looking ahead to the next fiscal year, it's unlikely we will be able to meet the demands of our growing city without one. When that time comes, we will approach the decision with the same discipline and responsibility we've shown in this proposal. Next week, the state's foremost economist, Natalie Gochner, will join us in your council meeting to present a detailed and thorough economic forecast. Her insight will help us better understand how our short and medium-term financial models have helped shape this planning process. I want to thank Natalie for consulting with my team in our budget building. What I want to make clear tonight is this. Our ability to balance this year's budget without new taxes is a direct result of really extraordinary work done by our city departments. They have dug deep, consolidating, cutting costs, and finding creative ways to do more with less. I wish that every Salt Laker could see just how hard they work to make this possible. I wish I could show our residents, the city employees who came together, analyzed our employees' health plans, and identified what worked and what didn't as our insurance costs continue to climb. Over several months of work, of democratic process and meetings, they reduced that cost increase from nearly 11% to 7%. And I want to extend a sincere thank you to our benefits team for making that possible. I wish I could show our residents the ingenuity of our fire department. Chief Lieb, thank you for being here tonight. Our fire department is utilizing graduate student internships to fill social work needs and supplement our current chat team. Not only does this prevent increased costs associated with hiring more staff, but it also fulfills a mandatory graduation requirement that builds a stronger pipeline between grad schools and these students' future careers. I wish I could show our residents the resilience of our Community and Neighborhoods Department, which refused to cut youth programs even after federal grant funding for elementary school programming ended, because we know that a cut like that would mean serious cost increases for families. They were able to repurpose other funds, keep the program on its feet, and even expand it to include a pilot program for teens. These are not small adjustments. They're meaningful acts of stewardship that ensure we can maintain the services our residents rely on without increasing financial pressure. This budget leaves no stone unturned when it comes to keeping our residents safe, lowering costs, and finding creative solutions to even the most complex obstacles. No amount of uncertainty will change who we are or how we serve. That's my duty. It's our duty to our residents. It's a promise that I vow to keep. Part of that promise is ensuring Salt Lakers feel safe and supported in their neighborhoods. To be clear, overall citywide crime is down 5% from last year and 15% below the 3-year average. Officer proactivity is up 17% from last year. And under the leadership of our new police chief, Brian Redd, thank you for being here tonight. Our police department is entering a new era of effectiveness and collaboration. But as long as even one resident feels unsafe in their neighborhood, our work is not done. In January, we released the Salt Lake City Public Safety Plan. It includes 27 specific city actions, and in less than 4 months, 8 of these are already complete, with the remaining 19 underway. This budget directly supports the completion of 7 more, representing $3.9 million in total proposed funding. That includes $550,000 for crime monitoring and response technology. These are state-of-the-art tools, including drones and real-time data that will help officers work more efficiently and proactively. It also proposes over $500,000 in funding to add overnight security at several city parks, including Allen, Cottonwood, Fairmont, Glendale, Herman Franks, Jordan, and Liberty Parks, plus the International Peace Gardens and the Jordan River Trail between all of these parks. These investments complement the $5.2 million for new police, fire, and street maintenance vehicles that you are already considering right now in Budget Amendment 5, which was presented several weeks ago. By moving these funds from fiscal year 26, which we'd intended to do, into fiscal year 25, we're hoping to avoid the rising costs driven by federal tariffs. This is yet another example of how our teams are applying creative thinking to protect public funds. A significant portion of this budget also goes toward creating our new Clean City team. It's a dedicated crew within Public Services Department that will address conditions that can lead to crime, like graffiti, abandoned property, trash, poor lighting, and neglected public spaces. I want to emphasize that this clean team is such a priority that the only new positions we are proposing in this budget are for this team. The addition of just 5 total FTEs across the entire general fund. That's it. Our clean team will focus their efforts specifically around North Temple and the Jordan River Trail, 2 corridors where the need is clear and the opportunity for transformation is significant. These efforts are doubly important both for our West Side residents and wetland ecosystems they border. I want to be clear that I will not allow the scourge of drugs and illicit activity to plague our neighborhoods. I have instructed Chief Red to use all means necessary to eradicate drug dealing from the areas along the trail, North Temple, and nearby parks, and root out the criminals who prey upon the vulnerable among us and our entire community. Our residents have spoken, and we are acting with urgency when it comes to both the safety and the beauty of our city. I want to thank every resident who has met with me over the past few months, and thank you, Councilmember Petro, for arranging so many of those meetings. Our residents shared their experiences, their frustrations, and their ideas. We heard you, and we will do better. And while these efforts span the entire city, we know our responsibility is greatest in the neighborhoods that haven't always received their fair share. We will do better for our West Side, which, as I've said for years, has historically faced systemic underinvestment from this city. I'm proud to share that this budget includes over $2.7 million in West Side-focused investments, from parks and green spaces to safety improvements and street lighting. That includes $680,000 in our capital improvement to replace Rose Park Lane Trail with an asphalt pathway to make it fully accessible to people of all abilities. That funding also enables the planting of more than 100 trees along that section of trail. This funding includes $400,000 for Fisher Mansion, a historic jewel along Jordan River corridor with enormous potential for activation. These funds will help build on our past investments, which did seismic repairs, and now we're prepared to make key building improvements that pave the way for public-private partnerships and year-round activation. By this time next year, those improvements will be complete, and we will begin an RFP process to identify tenants who are ready to bring Fisher Mansion back to life. This budget also proposes an additional $120,000 in ongoing funding to continue supporting UTA On Demand, a resource that has proven essential to West Side residents, albeit one that is becoming increasingly costly to maintain due to inflation. This proposal prioritizes the safety of our streets, not just for cars, but also for pedestrians, bikers, and public transit users. 2 years ago, Salt Lake City became Utah's first Vision Zero city, with the ambitious goal of achieving 0 fatalities or serious injuries on our streets by 2035. This year's budget includes $2.3 million for Vision Zero safety improvements to 3 major streets: Redwood Road, 900 West, and 800 South. These streets are wide, straight, and fast, and historic data shows they have significantly higher crash rates than most other city roads. The proposed funding will go toward a variety of safety improvements, such as upgrading crosswalks, intersections, and fixing broken or missing sidewalks. These targeted, data-driven interventions will make this city safer for everyone without sacrificing traffic flow and efficiency. This work is essential because our streets and sidewalks are the bones of our city. And like any strong structure, they require ongoing care. That's why this budget also proposes an additional $300,000 in annual ongoing investment for street maintenance. These investments not only improve safety, they save residents money, preventing car damage from potholes, reducing crash risk, and protecting long-term infrastructure value. I want to thank our transportation team, our engineers, and our local advocates who envision a safer future for everyone who uses our roads, streets, and byways, and who also hold us accountable when we can improve. And if our streets are the bones of our city, then our pipes and water system are the veins, circulating clean water to homes and businesses and moving wastewater safely out. To keep these services working in the way our growing city demands, we must increase rates for water, sewer, stormwater, and street lighting infrastructure, which in total will amount to about $10 a month for low water users. We will also implement a small waste and recycling rate change, about a $3 increase per month for most residential bins. These increases have been long planned and will ensure that when our residents turn on their faucets, clean water will run through their pipes. And when their trash and recycling bins are full, we will be there to pick them up. Across all of our work, from water and parks to our own city buildings, we are constantly looking for ways to be more sustainable for our air, for our Great Salt Lake, and for our earth. We've already had a wonderful start to spring over the past month, with dozens of volunteers joining us during Earth Day and Arbor Day celebrations to plant hundreds of trees. In just the past 6 months, we have planted 1,850 trees across the city. We will plant 150 more by the end of May. That is 2,000 new trees that will grow alongside our communities, cleaning our air and providing shade to our parks and our green spaces. It also means that for the 6th year in a row, we will once again fulfill my promise to plant an additional 1,000 trees on our city's west side every year. Speaking of green, this budget follows up on the commitment I made in January during my State of the City address and proposes $3 million in capital improvement dollars for the first phase of the Green Loop. As summer approaches, it's easier than ever to imagine how much a civic center will transform this block just outside City Hall. It's already the heart of so many of our city's biggest gatherings, but the Civic Center will transform it into something more, a true front yard for Salt Lake City, a third space where we will mingle, play, celebrate, and connect. 2 weekends ago, Salt Lake City Marathon's finish line set up right outside this building on 2nd East for the 12th year in a row. I was here as more than 10,000 runners crossed that line and then immediately flocked to the patches of shade across Washington Square with their families and supporters. Imagine how much more magical a moment like that will be when their final stretch is shady and lined with trees. Think about living traditions just 10 days from today, when we will celebrate the diversity of cultures and flavors that have become synonymous with spring at Library Square. Or next month, when the Pride Festival brings thousands here to celebrate belonging and togetherness in a literal rainbow of colors. Imagine how much more connected these events will feel when 2nd East is no longer a wide expanse of asphalt, but a seamless flow of pathways and gathering spaces. She's excited too. And in just 8 years and 9 months, the 2034 Olympic and Paralympic Winter Games will bring thousands of athletes and visitors to our doorstep. Imagine how much more intentional our city will feel when the world arrives to experience our new front yard and the rest of the Green Loop as part of their journey through downtown and between venues. The games will once again be a catalyst for our capital city, which is why this budget includes $200,000 from my mayor's office budget to kick off our legacy funding. This investment begins our intentional work to ensure the games leave lasting benefits for Salt Lakers long after the torch is extinguished. I've said this before, but I believe it bears repeating as 2034 gets closer and closer. When it comes to the games, we are not just planners of an event, we are architects of a legacy. Of course, we're still going to gather as a community, celebrate togetherness, and attend events in the meantime. You may have heard that every weekend in June, Open Streets will once again transform Main Street, turning a four-block stretch from South Temple to 400 South into a pedestrian promenade and expanding outdoor patios. And later this summer, for the first time ever, the Salt Lake City Arts Council is expanding Twilight Concert Series. This year, both Gallivan Center and Library Square will host performances, expanding the capacity of these highly popular and affordable concerts. Both Open Streets and Twilight are beloved community events that truly bring Salt Lake City to life, and they interject economic activity into downtown businesses and restaurants. This budget proposal moves these funds from one-time yearly investments to ongoing funding, ensuring that they're part of our city culture lasts for years to come. We're making a firm, sustained investment in these programs because we believe in their power to bring people together across our city. Access to the arts and shared cultural experiences shouldn't be a luxury. It should be part of what every resident comes to expect and appreciate from their city. It's part of why people love living here. And when we love a place, we invest in its long-term livability. For Salt Lakers, that often means caring about our air and the steps we can make to make it cleaner. Over the past 6 years, we've been able to reduce air pollution through our fleet as we transform more and more city vehicles to electric. In fact, we've made so much progress that if we want to continue, we need more places to charge them. With our recently completed electric fleet study, we now know how much and where charging infrastructure is needed. That's why this budget proposes $1 million in capital improvement funds for electric vehicle charging stations at the Public Safety Building. These stations will support the continued transition to clean vehicles for our police, fire, and emergency management personnel. Because investing in sustainability also means investing in the infrastructure to support it. Of course, our investments must extend beyond clean energy and electric vehicles to the human side of sustainability. And no matter how green a city becomes, it cannot thrive if its people can't afford to live here. Every year since the beginning of my administration, we have invested millions of dollars in affordable housing across the city through preservation and new construction. But this year, I've asked that we make a more targeted commitment to fund housing that is truly, deeply affordable. In January, I pledged to dedicate $5 million toward deeply affordable housing in this year's budget. This proposal fulfills that promise. Both the Community Reinvestment Agency and our Community and Neighborhoods Department will contribute $2.5 million to this commitment. These dollars will go directly toward increasing housing options for those most in need, residents earning at or below 30% of the area median income, or what equates to about $36,000 per year for a family of 4. Because we know that when housing becomes unattainable for our lowest income residents, the consequences ripple across the entire community. It's easy to talk about these efforts in terms of numbers and figures, but affordability isn't just a statistic. It's a person's ability to stay in their home. It's whether a student can afford rent and tuition. It's whether our essential workers can raise their families in the same city where they serve. Housing stability creates community stability. And this investment is one way we're protecting that stability, not just for those in crisis, but for the health and the future of Salt Lake City as a whole. Just as we're committed to caring for our residents, we're equally committed to caring for the people who serve them. Our city employees are the backbone of every service we provide, every pothole that we fix, and each resource we depend upon. This year's budget proposes a 4% cost of living salary adjustment for all non-represented employees in recognition of the rising costs every household is facing. This increase builds on the market-based wage corrections that we've made in recent years, and it reinforces our commitment to staying competitive, even in a challenging budget year, even when legislative action threatens our employees' ability to negotiate with their unions. Salt Lake City currently negotiates with 3 employee unions, but only our local police union had a contract set to expire this year. We are proud to have reached a signed memorandum of understanding with the Salt Lake Police Association last month, solidifying an agreement that will be in place for the next 3 years. I'm optimistic that voters will get the chance to reinforce to the legislature that unions are good for working families. Additionally, my administration is exploring all options for protecting our employees, regardless of what happens on the ballot or on the Hill. Salt Lake City's culture of collaboration and respect will not be undone by legislation. We'll keep taking care of our city team, and we will keep listening to them. Tomorrow morning, we're holding an employee town hall focused on this budget and any questions our employees may have. An open forum designed to listen, engage, and build a stronger relationship between leadership and the people who power our city. Our city team of nearly 4,000 public servants is the heartbeat of this city. In every department, in every neighborhood, their work matters, and so does their well-being. Before we shifted to budget matters tonight, I shared a proposal to adopt 3 new city flags, 3 new symbols of our shared values and our unity. I want to be clear. I believe that these values are reflective of our national values. Our new city flags will never replace or diminish our American flag, which we will still fly proudly, always on Washington Square. To our city council members, I hope you'll join me in supporting this initiative by voting to approve these flags tonight. And in case there's anyone listening now who missed it, I want to reiterate an important message to our residents. One that is relevant to not only our city symbols or our budget, but everything we do for you. Our city is here for you. Everything I've said tonight during this speech and earlier is about keeping Salt Lake City dependable. That's our job. It's our promise. No matter what happens, we are not changing who we are. We're not backing away from our responsibilities or our values that define this city, even as fear and instability ripple across this nation. We are steady. We are present. We are here for you. In good years and in hard years, Salt Lake City shows up. We care and we lead with purpose. This budget is a reflection of that commitment. It's not flashy, but it is strong, and it's built to protect what matters most. Thank you again, council members and council staff, for the work that you will do over the next several weeks to carefully consider and finalize this budget. I look forward to working with you, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mayor. I love that even before you presented this, I'm already feeling heard, and I can see places where my neighbors are being heard. I literally texted Jennifer Robeson and said, "Did you see Rose Park Trail?" Thank you. It's remarkable, and I think you're certainly correct. It's the only way we're going to get through these years is by listening and responding. So thank you so much. As many of you know, the council will spend the next several weeks receiving briefings and discussing the proposed budget before we are ready to adopt a final budget in June. We invite members of the public to tune in to the budget briefings and to share your feedback with these issues. Thank you to you and your staff for the thoughtful recommended budget. This now brings us to the public hearing section of our agenda. These are specific proposals before the council that require a public hearing. Your comments should pertain to the hearing item. If you go off topic, we will ask you to stop your comment. Our meeting rules apply to hearing comments as well. Please avoid disruptions or threats. We'll ask a staff member to assist you out of the meeting. Also, as a reminder, comments that include profanity, personal attacks, intimidation, or discriminatory language are not persuasive or compelling. They are not helpful in creating a respectful or safe environment. To sign up to comment on any of the hearing items, please register online or turn in a comment card to the in-person staff. We accept sign-ups until the hearing item is closed. We will be calling the names in the order of sign-up. If you're on Zoom, please unmute your mic when your name is called. Each person will have 2 minutes. Please raise your hand in the room or on Zoom for staff assistance. If you are having technical issues in Zoom, our staff member, Daffodil Buchert, can assist you. If you reach the 2-minute mark, the host will announce time and your microphone will be muted. If you're unable to finish your comment, please share the rest via email, mail, or call our office. Contact information is listed at slccouncil.com. If you have a handout for the council, please notify council staff who will assist you. Our first public hearing item is G1. It's for an ordinance for mixed use or MU zoning consolidation, zoning text, and map amendment. Before we begin taking comments, I will turn the time over to Nick Tarbett, Council Deputy Director, to give a short introduction.
Thank you. This proposal would update the city's zoning ordinance and maps by consolidating existing commercial, form-based, and mixed-use zoning districts into 6 new mixed-use districts. The goal of these amendments is to simplify zoning regulations, improve clarity of language, and incorporate missing design standards. The council has held 3 work session briefings on this item so far.
Thank you, Nick. Taylor, please start with our first public comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have about 23 people registered to speak to this item. The first will be Noah Shepherdson, followed by Scott Amundson, and then Joe Gallegos. Noah is here in person.
Council, my name is Noah Shepherdson. I'm a law clerk at Bennett Tuller Johnson & Deere. The firm represents Madbrook Donut Company. Madbrook operates its bakery and main offices in a large building located at 375 West Hope Avenue in Salt Lake City. Currently, Madbrook is zoned as CG. However, as part of the Planning Commission's proposed zoning changes, Madbrook's building will find itself in the MU11 district. This is concerning because although the commercial bakery continues to be an approved use, the building would potentially become a non-complying structure under the proposed changes. This proposal burdens many established buildings along the I-15 corridor, and the only carve-outs or exceptions in the proposal apply to large retailers such as Walmart and Costco. The Planning Commission staff has already acknowledged the reality that certain buildings generally do not meet the regulations and will not unless completely redeveloped in the MU3. Therefore, the staff made sure that the MU3 specifically includes a waiver of the design review threshold and design standards compliance to allow for some by-right additions to large commercial non-complying structures. The accommodation persists for businesses lucky enough to find themselves in the MU3 zone, but not for those that land in the MU11 zone. If the proposal is passed as currently submitted, Madbrook and many other businesses along the I-15 corridor will not enjoy the same sort of additions allowance as similar businesses in the MU3 zone, despite facing the same reality where their buildings do not meet the regulations and will not unless completely redeveloped. Madbrook asks that if the City Council and Planning Commission consider the undue burden on already established buildings in the MU3 zone, that it do so uniformly and codify the same type of exceptions in the MU11 zone. The proposal also discusses the creation of a transitional overlay where Madbrook's building is located. Buildings in the overlay may access relaxed design standards if they either implement a series of several landscaping measures or a pre-existing large retailer. This limited exception ignores buildings in the I-15 corridor and means that businesses that have approved and conforming uses might be forced to remodel even under the relaxed standards. Yet large retailers such as Walmart, which is across the street from Madbrook, the Home Depot, and Costco all receive immediate access to the relaxed standards just by virtue of their size. The city would be prioritizing protecting large retailers and not local businesses with the new requirements, even though those retailers have more resources and capital to comply. This is simply unfair.
Next will be Scott Amundson, followed by Joe Gallegos, and then Amy Stutz. Scott, you may now unmute.
Hi, my name is Scott. I'm a resident whose house backs up to a CC zone currently. We bought our home back in 2007. And it looks like what's proposed behind my home is going to be the MU-5. And I just have concerns that, something that has a 30-foot height restriction right now can potentially go up to 55 feet. And there's smaller setbacks from homes. And I am just very concerned that my backyard might not see sunlight in the winter. Gardens, trees, kids playing in the pool, things like that going to be gone. It seems to me that the overall scope of the project might be large in capacity and might be large in heights and setbacks. Thank you for your time.
Will be Joe Gallegos, followed by Amy Stocks, and then Paul Fryer. Joe, you may now unmute.
Okay, yeah, my name is Joe, and I live on Cleveland Avenue. And back in 2022, I got notice that they were going to be making a big complex on State Street and around. So there are only going to be 3 houses on my block, and everything else is going to be a big complex. And they knocked down the building, my neighbor's house to the west. They kicked her out. Now there's a big hole in the ground, and with a temporary fence that blocks up with a tree branch that's holding it up. And now they have an indoor soccer league, and then a tattoo parlor and a personal training. And are they going to do it, or not, right? And if they're not going to do it, what are they going to do about that big hole? Because people will camp there and get in there, and I have to chase people out of my backyard often. And I believe it's the Colmena group that I spoke to before about the property, especially when they made my neighbor move out of the house and it became vacant for over a year. And then people were living and camping in there, and then they tore it down because people started fires in there. And now it's just a big hole, and I'm wondering what's going to happen with it. And if they're not going to tear it down, then something should happen with that property. It should be, first of all, fenced off properly, and maybe fill the hole and remove all the big chunks of concrete that are in that property. So thank you.
Will be Amy Stocks, followed by Paul Cryer, and then Alex Hammery. Amy is here in person.
Hi, Council. Thanks for the opportunity to come and speak to you today. I'm coming to you today as a property owner on 154 North, 1000 South. Not only, though, as a homeowner, but someone who's deeply invested in Salt Lake's neighborhoods and the issue of housing stability. The proposed zone change from TSU to MU5 will directly impact the lot immediately to the south of my 1898 single-story, 25-foot wide humble lot. I understand the city's interest in simplifying zoning and easing the administrative burden, but to do so at the expense of long-term residents and the character of our neighborhood is not responsible governance. It prioritizes developer convenience over community well-being. That trade-off is not just unacceptable, it's short-sighted. This zoning change would allow buildings up to 55 to 65 feet tall with drastically reduced setbacks, shrinking the buffer between my property and a potentially 6-story structure from 60 feet to potentially 20 feet. That would overwhelm my home, eliminate privacy, block sunlight, prevent me from growing a garden, installing solar panels, or enjoying my backyard. And I'm just one example of these effects in the city. This is not how we create thriving, livable communities. It's a one-size-fits-all approach that disregards context, ignores history, weakens the social and architectural fabric of Salt Lake's diverse neighborhoods. We know that Fair Park is not Ballpark. Fleet Block is not Maven. Yet this rezone treats every area as interchangeable. Worse, the developers pushing this change have not earned the community's trust. In Fair Park, they've misrepresented property sales, allowed purchased homes to fall into disrepair, and contributed to visible blight, vacant houses, overgrown lots, and increased trash. They offer long-term residents below market prices and then rent them with no upkeep while waiting for this rezone to pass. This is speculative development.
Next will be Paul Cryer, followed by Alex Hammery, and then Annie Isaacson. Paul is here in person.
While he's coming up, just a reminder, please no outward expressions of agreement or disagreement, just to keep a level playing field so everyone feels comfortable expressing their views. Thank you.
Thank you so much. My name is Paul Cryer. I live at Samson Altadena, which is a listed small condo development on the corner of 3rd East and 3rd South. The Overland project, which is directly south of us, has been proposed at such a height that would remove a significant part of both our summer and our winter sunlight in the small community area that we have. This would restrict our ability to have a green space where we're able to meet and socialize with each other. And in light of the statements about the Greenbelt and in light of the statements about being architects of legacy, I feel that everybody should take part in developing their own green space. And in our way, we would like to retain ours and not have our neighbor build so high. Thank you.
Next will be Alex Harmery, followed by Annie Isaacson, and then Larry Hancock. Alex is here in person.
Keith, can you help with a microphone for that gentleman?
We can bring a microphone to you if you'd prefer. Just give us 1 second. Staff is coming. We appreciate your efforts.
Alex Hammery. No, you can read. Yeah. Alex Hammery, stroke. Sorry.
He wasn't expecting to read. Did you guys read it?
Perfect.
Can I read this into the record?
Yeah.
Is that appropriate?
We typically don't do that. We can
This
accept.
feels like an accommodation because this is an ADA accessibility since he had a stroke.
To read it.
If we can keep it in the 2-minute, sure.
Who is appropriate to read it into the record?
I'll read it. Yep.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Alex Hammery. I live at 310 South, 300 East in the historic Altadena building. I was a mountain climber in Utah and had a stroke in 2016. Please read my comments posted on these boards. I really thrive on the sunlight that comes into my unit. I do not support easing rear yard setbacks for new buildings adjacent to historic properties, as the historic 30-foot rear yard setback currently in place protects our historic buildings from environmental and psychological blight, as the need for light impacts both human and plant life. I urge the inclusion of the National Park Service document protecting a historic structure during adjacent construction as required zoning, including the checklist here. Thank you for your consideration of these elements so that we keep Salt Lake City wonderful. Thank you. You're welcome, mate.
And next will be Annie Isaacson, followed by Larry Hancock, and then Richard Piggott. Annie is here in person.
Hello, City Council members and Mayor Mendenhall. Those of us who both live and own here have a commitment to both the city's present and future. Please consider our unique perspectives on how to retain the inherent character and vibe of our city as it grows. While I understand there was a strong push to increase density in Salt Lake City, it is critical that the code is scripted in a way that we build density which is smart rather than density which is merely dense. As a licensed architect with close to 40 years of experience, I know that a rear yard setback that is optionally 0 is not viable to legislate without setting the stage for undue influence. Architecturally, most rear property lines are also the rear or side property line of an adjacent property. Therefore, only one property owner can benefit from building all the way to the property line, not both. City codes have historically favored 0 side yard setbacks to support density, while necessitating a specific rear yard setback to avoid back-to-back building conflicts and to maintain the environment needs of human habitation, sunlight, and ground level green space. To allow one owner to build to the rear property line denies the adjacent property owner of that same right. Hence, rear yard setbacks of 10 to 25 feet or greater have historically been a critical benchmark of zoning code. If both buildings are to have window fenestration, which is an architectural element required for habitation, then the rear yard setback by code cannot be 0. In order that the new zoning code be written in a way that can be responsibly adhered to and adjudicated, I implore you to not approve a rear yard setback that contains
Right.
this model is for you to play with to understand what I just said.
Next will be Larry Hancock, followed by Richard Piggott, and then Cindy Cromer. Larry's here in person.
Hi. Yeah, my name's Larry Hancock. I live at 245 North Quint Street, and I'm just here to talk about a lot, but we don't have that much time. But anyway, noting on the rezoning map, you guys had designated the Carol Joe Apartments, which sit on the northwest corner of Quint Street and 2nd North for rezoning. And then looking at the plans for what this could mean and having apartments built out close to the sidewalk. And she was talking about very small setbacks on property lines, and then not requiring adequate off-street parking. My house would be the house right next to that Carol Joe, and our street, which now is in the historic district, would be negatively impacted if their large apartment building goes up there and there's not enough parking that is provided. It would turn our street, which has been a nice quiet little street for many years, into a parking lot. My vision, my view, I would lose all southern exposure, and all I'd be seeing is an apartment building out of my windows now. And that's my primary concern, is that I'm no architect or anything like that, but my primary concern is the quality of life. I understand the need for housing, but I also understand that people who have lived in a neighborhood, worked hard in a neighborhood, paid their taxes, also expect to have a quality of life. That's all I've got to say, and I hope that you guys take that in consideration. Thank you.
Next will be Richard Piggott, followed by Cindy Cromer, and then Tim Frederickson. Richard is here in person.
Council members, my name is Richard Piggott. I'm with Maverick Incorporated here locally. We're here local at 185 South State Street here in Salt Lake. We've been in contact with our providers internally and externally with the concerns we have with the new code as it relates to our convenience stores, specifically how the new code will affect our ability to provide new services and locations for our current customers. Also, how the new code will affect our ability to operate and maintain our existing locations here within Salt Lake City. This specifically in the code, it relates to the signage, lighting, building orientation, and setbacks as currently constructed. As currently constructed, the new code will, as per your own city council transmittal, it admits that the new code will limit the ability for us to meet the new design standards. And such, our existing store locations will be limited in our ability to operate and maintain those in our ability to remodel and maintain those our ability to remodel is reduced. Maverick is headquartered here in Salt Lake City, and we feel that we are a great steward of our locations. Our goal is to keep our stores clean and safe for our customers and are also our adventure guides. Our store layouts and orientations are based on decades of standards and help us be successful. As you limit our new stores, our use in the new zones, our ability to expand is lessened. If we are limited in our grandfathered stores by code, we may not be able to keep our own standards that we currently provide for the city. It's important for us as Maverick that we keep our standards safe. I was in Las Vegas yesterday, and we just want to make sure that our stores keep clean and safe for everybody that's a resident here in Salt Lake City. Thank you.
Next will be Cindy Cromer, followed by Tim Fredrickson, and then Slay Smith, and he's here in person.
As I said to Brent Wild, the former Deputy Director of Planning and the guru of the 1995 zoning rewrite, when we make this many changes at the same time, we're going to make mistakes. And Brent nodded. That was probably 1994. So I ask you not to adopt the proposal tonight. I will provide additional written comments. My focus tonight is on the requirement that existing building be on the city register in order to receive setbacks. Let me provide some context about my own buildings. There are 10 of them. They are all contributory. They are all in National Register districts. That means that all of them are eligible for tax credits. 4 of them are in city register districts. Not a single one of them is a standalone city register site. It makes no sense to me as a small-scale investor for the city to establish this threshold out of the blue. The properties in mixed-use zones are largely investment properties. There are no tax credits associated with city register status. The city hasn't approved a new city register site in years. Why would someone want the additional regulation associated with a city register site on an investment property? In December of 2023, Councilmember Wharton proposed a legislative initiative to ensure that construction work does not damage adjacent properties. It was well articulated. All we have so far is some language about liability and the revision of Title 18, which you adopted in December of 2024. That is 18.04.070. It took me a while to find it. I'll send it to you. This rant is not idle on my part. The demolition of the historic Bryant Intermediate School on 100 South shook apart 2 attached buildings that I was managing. By offering some protection to a very small class of existing buildings, city register sites, the council would be creating the conditions for settlement and even collapse of existing buildings.
Next will be Tim Fredrickson, followed by Slay Smith, and then Jennifer Goodwin, who's here in person.
Hi, Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Tim Fredrickson, and I'm the manager of Olympia Cells and Manufacturing Company on 1537 South 700 West. We have been in business this year for 75 years here in Salt Lake City. My father grew up here. I grew up here. A lot of our employees grew up here. Their families grew up here. And I just wanted to let everyone know how vital it is that we do not lose our ability to manufacture. I looked at over the MU6 proposal, and it says limited industrial, and it says light manufacturing, artisan production, provided they are compatible with residential and commercial uses. I look at this beautiful woodwork in here, and I go, what, is this not artisan activity? We do this same type of work. We make kitchen cabinets, we make bathroom vanities, we make architectural woodwork. We have a lot of people that I would consider artists or artisans. 25% of our 75 employees live in the city. The majority of them, which some of them commute on the trails they were talking about, coming on their bikes or walking to work in the day. And I'm glad to hear that there's been something done about some of the crime that's going down there, because I have talked to so many of them that have been worried about their safety. They've been spit on, they've had feces thrown at them, all kinds of stuff, and they don't feel safe there. And I'm
Time. Next will be Clay Smith, followed by Jennifer Goodrum, and then Cameron Broadbent. Clay is here in person.
Council, thank you for giving us the opportunity to come talk to you guys tonight. My name's Clay Smith. I own GNS Cells. I own the property at 1641 South, 700 West, and I've owned that since 2002. We came to that area because it was conducive to the business. It was a great area for my customers and an awesome area for my employees, a good portion that do live in Salt Lake City. I am totally opposed to this overlay district and how we're going about it. Mayor Mendenhall in her opening remarks said how tough it is to create a budget with the unknowns and the uncertainty of this world we live in. Can you imagine living in a city where they're going to go through and make it extremely hard for me to do business because if there's a bunch of residences coming in there, we're back in 53 footers in there multiple times a day on 7th West. It's already extremely difficult to get that done. I can't wait for every morning when I have half a dozen of them to sit and wait for school buses and everything else. It will be extremely expensive for me to conduct business, and after talking to multiple real estate agents, it will knock the value of my current property by over 2/3, just adopting this proposal. The overlay districts, I'm wondering how much time, effort was put into a lot of this, considering that you're putting an MU-11 over the top of a federal Superfund site that specifically excludes any residential development on top of it. I also wonder why we're only going after existing industrial commercial areas instead of looking around maybe some other residential areas that are a prime candidate to get updated and maybe a good spot for some multifamily. I appreciate your time and thank you very much.
Will be Jennifer Goodrum, followed by Cameron Broadbent, and then Judy Short. Jennifer, you may now unmute.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me? My name is Jennifer Goodrum. I'm a homeowner at 2 Pines condos off of 900 East and 500 South in Salt Lake. And we're just concerned about the new zoning and the impact that it will have on our quaint and quiet neighborhood. We have historic property that would back up to the new zone. And our concern, at least my concern, is the uptick in parking, traffic, and residents in an already small neighborhood, and then the potential future developments and property tax increases. Thank you.
This will be Cameron Broadbent, followed by Judy Short, and then Ben Engel. Cameron's here in person.
Thank you for your service on the City Council. In 2023, I stood before the City Council to request a zoning change for 2 small lots. Those changes were approved so I could build a 4-plex on each lot that aligns with the city's goal of building the missing middle housing in our city. After a 1.5 years of work to change the zoning, I find myself now impacted by the proposed shift to the new simplified zones. While I understand the support the broader intent, this change could undercut projects like mine that have been years in the making and have followed the existing process in good faith. I respectfully ask the council to consider allowing a grace period for property owners who have either 1, had zoning changes approved in the last couple years, or 2, are currently working with the city to develop under existing ordinances. Allowing us to submit plans through the end of 2025 under the current zoning would honor the time, investment, and collaboration already put in without slowing progress on the city's broader goals. Thank you for your consideration and continued support of thoughtful housing development.
Will be Judy Short, followed by Ben Engel, and then Jeff McComas. Judy's here in person.
I'm Judy Short from Sugar House. Reading the staff report makes me think you weren't really listening to our community when a huge number of Sugar House residents provided written or oral comments about the height of buildings in Sugar House. I think we can absorb some height in some places, but not on every square inch of the Sugar House Business District. Height can go along 13th East, Chick-fil-A, and the freeway, but we can't have buildings that max out to 186 feet along Highland Drive. That should not be MU11. MU8 is more appropriate. You missed the buildings are scaled to be context appropriate, which seemed to be the original goal of the story map. The height proposed around 21st South between 8th and 13th East is too high. If you cram that many people into this area, who among them will be able to get to work easily, given our underbuilt transit system? People won't come to shop because there won't be parking or transit to facilitate that. Our businesses now are struggling because residents spend all their money on rent and have little left to spend on eating out or buying a book or t-shirt. We've never talked about 186 feet along McClelland, and we've said we are in favor of drive-throughs for banks and pharmacies. The report allows only for banks. Are most of these residents going to work from home like other projects seem to think? We know we need housing, but you have to have a mix of housing, not just 5,000 new apartment units. And parking seems to be an afterthought. We've heard for decades that people don't come to Sugar House because there's no parking. This would be a great time to start a parking authority so that businesses could share the parking. Thank you.
Next will be Ben Engel, followed by Jeff McComas, and then Lynn Short. Ben is here in person.
Hi, my name is Ben Engel. I live on 100 South between 2nd and 3rd East. I clean up garbage a lot. Thanks to Tim Cosgrove and the mayor's office for reaching out to me. I invite everybody to please clean up all of the garbage that you have in your neighborhood and maybe complain a little bit less and take some action and love your neighborhood. I'm really optimistic about the zoning changes because I've seen that there's a lot of consideration for how it is that we can simplify the process so that we cannot encourage blight. One of the problems that we keep on having is that these projects don't get developed. Also, there seems to be not a whole lot of civil enforcement, like we heard earlier, people being evicted and then their property sitting vacant until it becomes a fire hazard and the fire department ends up having to put it out. Expecting our police to constantly protect these vacant, blighted areas is ridiculous. I know we just, had some additional overtime approved in the budget to be able to, I'm pretty sure the police would rather spend time with their friends and family instead of working overtime, as much as I'm sure they appreciate the extra paycheck. But we need to hold the property owners of these properties responsible for maintaining and not having blight. We also need to encourage that we have reasonable parking for these buildings that are mixed usage. To have a giant building with very little or no parking, we need to have minimum parking, especially where retail is involved. To expect that people are gonna go and use retail when there's no parking available is kind of nonsense. I think you can see our downtown malls versus our suburb malls are very different. We have parking underneath the building, it's accessible, available, it's secure, and it's clean, whereas our other parking garages in our city have a tendency to be very insecure, very unclean, and
Next is Jeff McComas, followed by Lynn Schwartz, and then Jacqueline Anderson. Jeff is here in person.
Mayor and Council, thank you. My name is Jeff McComas. I'm here because a client forwarded me the notice of public hearing as it affects property along the 700 West corridor between 800 South and 2100 South, which I believe is currently zoned M1. A lot of it, and along 5th West, maybe a general commercial. The concern is that the properties along that corridor are primarily warehouse, manufacturing. They've been there for years. And I was amazed at how much this MU project has affected that particular area. And there really isn't any place for these people to go. The uses are there. The UDABS will be building a 100,000 plus warehouse to expand their facility, which will be the outgoing of their liquor control business. And that'll begin in June, I'm told. But I think this has been, I don't have notes, but the sweep of this and how it affects properties and whether those businesses will be able to continue as they are until such time it does become usable for MU. There's nothing there that would be appropriate for TOD development. There isn't transit. It's an industrial area, and I think Salt Lake City needs that. So I would like you to take that into consideration. I can see there's been a lot of preparation on this. I found out about it on Friday, so I don't have a lot of notes. But my client is concerned about it, and I think there are a lot of business.
Will be Lynn Schwartz, followed by Jacqueline Anderson, and then Brian Heslop. Lynn is here in person.
While it is laudable that Salt Lake City has embarked on this process to simplify and clarify the mixed-use zoning code, the devil is in the details. The laser focus on massive upzoning in the Sugar House Business District in the face of well-documented public opinion against it is one example. We are not talking about measured, systematic upzoning whereby both the people who live there want to see happen and what developers who want to maximize returns are both taken into account. We are talking about almost doubling the allowed height of developments from 85 feet to 150 feet, with the possibility of up to 186 feet, literally right next to single-family areas. We are particularly concerned with the level of height and density proposed north and south of 21st South between 8th East and 13th East. MU11 is inappropriate for north of 21st South, which should be MU8 and MU6 as was originally proposed in October 2024. MU11 is also out of context along Highland from 21st South to the freeway. The more appropriate zone would be MU8, which is much more compatible with existing context as delineated in the Design Guidelines Handbook of the Sugar House Master Plan. Salt Lake City's website for the zoning consolidation states, this proposal seeks to create a desirable mix of commercial and residential uses. Buildings are scaled to be context appropriate. Each new district identifies the right mix of uses to ensure that desirable development occurs in your neighborhood. The clear question now becomes whose desires are being met when building heights balloon from 85 feet to a base level of 150 feet with possibility of 186 feet. I think the answer is self-evidently not of the people who live there. You have clearly failed.
Time. Next will be Jacqueline Anderson, followed by Brian Heslop, and then Soren Simonson. Jacqueline is here in person.
I believe that I'm just reiterating what everyone else has said. My name's Jacqueline Anderson, and I live in the Avenues. I just wanted to be heard that I've had very brief notice on this. I just came back from vacation, but from looking at the information online, there is a change from CB to M3, so the commercial building to an M3 on Smith's Grocery Store. If that is the case, with the height and by the diagram that's shown in the online information you've given us. It will shadow my house, which is already shadowed on 3 sides because the homes are built large and tall. There's only about a 5-foot distance on one side from my house to the other because it's a historic distance and historic area, and we didn't have a lot of the rules that you now have for building. So by building something larger, I'll lose all of my view of the mountains, and I will have no sunrise to look out from my porch, and I will have no sunlight in the morning or all day long. So in essence, my home will be just this dark shadow. So as everyone has said, when you're looking at these large structures, I hope you're looking at where the shadows fall and how that affects the impacts. Also with the setback, I hope that you realize something I love about the avenues is that we have these beautiful sidewalks that you can, walk with the baby carriages and with older people in their canes and people out in their wheelchairs able to cruise up and down. It's a lovely thing. And if you narrow these setbacks too much, bring them into the street, it'll be difficult, as well as the additional traffic, especially on East Street. That is a dead end into South Temple. It is a traffic nightmare at 5 o'clock. So please do not add more condensed housing in that area. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Next will be Brian Hislop, followed by Soren Simonson, and then Matt Sadukas. Brian is here in person.
Thank you, Council, for the opportunity to share some thoughts. My name is Brian Heslop. I represent Nucor here as a controller of our rebar fabrication business here on 700 West. We are heavily invested in the local economy and growth of the state of Utah, in particular the city of Salt Lake, with supplying thousands and thousands of structural steel that goes to anywhere from the airport to the City Creek project to many other projects that we continue to work on as the city grows. Not only are there inherent operational challenges for us on 700 West with the proposed zoning changes, our biggest concern is the safety and well-being of those residents that could potentially move into that area. We have, as part of our mission statement, our challenge is to become the world's safest steel company, and in doing that, it provides focus and opportunity for us to, have our teammates go home in a safe manner, as well as our residents here in the city of Salt Lake. And I feel like there's a lot of challenges that are going to be misrepresented if we start introducing residents into that 700 West corridor because of the commercial, automotive activity where there will have to be increased law enforcement and safety measures put in place. So just thank you for your consideration.
Next will be Soren Simonson, followed by Matt Sadukas, and then Dan Mullen. Soren is here in person.
Thank you. Good evening. Soren Simonson. I'm here in my official capacity with the Jordan River Commission. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I know the efforts that have gone and the hard work that have gone into this zoning recodification. I do have some thoughts specific to my neighborhood in Sugar House, and I'll submit those in writing separately. I want to speak to the many areas around the Jordan River that are highlighted for transition from warehouse and manufacturing to emerging urban neighborhoods with a vibrant mix of uses. We know Salt Lakers and others love the Jordan River Parkway. And I encourage you to examine preservation and expansion of buffers beyond the 100-foot minimum that's in the current riparian overlay. Explore and expand tools in conjunction with this rezoning, like clustering and transferring development rights to increase the Jordan River Parkway buffers to match and even grow the vision of the recent Emerald Ribbon Plan. Look at the work of Murray and Midvale, Lehigh, and Saratoga Springs that have and are redeveloping industrial and other areas, including Superfund sites, with setbacks of 200 feet to 1,000 feet that incorporate parks, trails, nature centers, and urban development into some of the most vibrant and active districts, parks, and trails around the Jordan River. With this zoning change, I also encourage you to develop an urban design division to match the considerable expertise of the planning division and help implement this zoning. Each building is like an instrument in an orchestra, and orchestrating the urban design of our community is more important than ever. I've spoken with Mayor Mendenhall and many of you about an urban design division in Salt Lake City, and I think it's time. We lose important community oversight of design review in districts like Sugar House Business District, and an urban design division will help design the architecture and legacy building that Mayor Mendenhall just spoke about in her budget presentation. I encourage you to consider that as a companion.
Next will be Matt Sabukas, followed by Dan Mullen. Matt is here in person.
Hi, my name is Matt Sadowskis. I live at 1660 South Major Street, which is between State Street and Main Street. I think we can, most of all of us can agree that housing in the city is extremely unaffordable for most people. And I wanted to offer a couple of perspectives that are a bit different than most that have been offered thus far. I think all of the critical issues that we've discussed are downstream of a shortage of housing. And I really applaud and encourage the council to adopt this streamlined zoning proposal. I think the simplifying and streamlining zoning will enable not just greater volumes of housing, but greater variety. You know, the sort of tall, funky, ugly buildings that people complain about are a lot of times a result of over-constrained housing and approval processes. You know, so I think that's something that would be a major improvement. I think more housing improves, and denser housing improves the efficacy of transit. So that'll improve, that has the potential, certainly, to improve traffic issues and mitigate against requiring additional parking, of which currently the city is composed of about 30% of its surface area, which is not great. Because, you know, if you live in a downtown area and want to walk past empty parking lots, it doesn't really encourage you to go walk around and enjoy your city. More housing will slow the growth of homelessness, which is a major driver of the public safety concerns that we've all expressed tonight. More housing leads to lower rents, as demonstrated in Austin recently, which will allow more disposable income for the residents of the city to patronize.
Next will be Dan Mullen, who is here in person.
All right, Mr. Rowland says he is not speaking, so we have, that should be the last one, right, Taylor?
Yep, that was the final registered commenter.
Okay, perfect. Thank you to everyone who made a comment. We take notes. We will be looking at these. We will take our time. I'll look for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that the council continue the public hearing to a future council meeting.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Pui and a second from Young. Any discussion? Oh, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone who came out and spoke tonight, and with my fellow council members. I really do understand that in making these large-scale changes, that there are obviously some details that we need to take a look at again. And so thank you for coming and being able to share that feedback with us. And I think continuing the public comment gives us an opportunity to look at those and work on those with our staff to be able to address that public feedback. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Pui?
Madam Chair, certainly simplifying the code, the zoning code, is one of the biggest challenges we have had as a city, and the administration taking on this massive, very important task is not easy. Finding the right balance between 26 different zones and overlays, and it really becomes this magical book that very few people really understand. And the consolidation's goal was to simplify it and make sense of it, and also bring some, solve some of the issues that some of our industrial areas and some of the other zones in our city are seeing and finding some new tools in the tool set that we have to bring some more life to those districts. So the feedback was very important to me and probably to many of us and to all of us, and I'm looking forward to understand more about the issues that you are seeing, and I'm excited to give it more time to discuss.
All right, I'll put it to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. All right, our next item is G2. It's an ordinance for an alley vacation near 2680 South Chadwick. Before we begin taking comments, I'll turn the time over to Brian Fulmer, Council Policy Analyst, for a short introduction.
Thank you. This is a proposal to vacate a north-south city alley between Chadwick and Beverly Streets, which is about 1400 East, and between 2700 South and approximately 2615 South. The alley is blocked in several locations and is impassable.
Thank you, Brian. Taylor, if you start calling our first commenters.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have one person registered to speak to this item. That is Lenny Fitzgerald, who is here in person.
Did you say Gerald? I'm sorry, there's a little noise in the room.
Lenny Fitzgerald.
Mr. Fitzgerald?
Let's see, I only have 2 minutes, so let me get this. Where is it at? Okay, thank you. This is the perfect city to launch this off. It's not too big, it's not too little. I'd like to see focus on the opportunity, not the problem. As an opportunity to help others, possibly even advance the community. In many ways, and on top of that, we can be blessed and an example to many of the rest of the state, the country, and even the world. Not just them having a home, but opportunities in finding themselves to operate on a multi-level platform. I'm sure many of you have seen this. To bring them in, meet them on an individual basis, and let them know personally we're there to do the best. Now, there's going to be some people that aren't going to want to go, and that's their freedom. They don't have to stay. They can just come in for a bed and get cleaned up, and then go out. But one step at a time, we want to help them. It's going to require a lot of financial, volunteer work, and the motivation behind the platform, and the possible potential of each person is going to be an example. They may find themselves, some of them might just work in the kitchen that's going to have to be run daily. They might be in the janitorial work for the buildings, whatever it is. Some of them might be into the medical field. And then we're going to have volunteers for that to take them to the next level. Then we're going to have many educational levels. Some are going to come in and need a simple detox bed, and then they'll require treatment. Then we're going to have funding and volunteer work and areas for that. And if they have interest in getting continuing and ongoing care. Even those with severe mental disabilities or minor, we're going to have a section for that as well. And of course, it may seem difficult for a lot, but it's not. This isn't a bigger view. It's not just something that I can explain here.
Time.
Thank you, sir. If you want to submit the rest of your comments in writing, we'd be happy to have them. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
Oh. Okay, Madam Chair. I move that the council close the public hearing and adopt the ordinance.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilwoman Young and a second from Councilmember Pui. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Our next item, G3, is an ordinance for the budget amendment number 5 for fiscal year 24-25. Before we begin taking comments, I'll turn the time over to Jennifer Bruno, Council Executive Director, to give a short introduction.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Budget Amendment number 5 includes several adjustments to the city's fiscal year 25 budget. These amendments happen several times throughout the year to address changing city needs or budget circumstances. This budget amendment includes proposals to increase the overall overtime budget in the police department, funding to continue enhanced cleaning of public spaces, and increased funding for hive passes to keep up with demand, among other items. It should be noted that this is a continued budget amendment hearing due to an issue with noticing for the previous hearing. The public can find more information on this item at tinyurl.com/SLCFY25.
Thank you. Taylor, you can begin calling our next commenter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We do not have anyone registered to speak.
I'll look for a motion.
I move that the council, I would move that the council adopt all except for items I2 and I3, but I am open to an amended motion.
Would you be open to deferring the action to a future council?
I would.
Okay. Anyone gonna second that?
So, Madam Chair, if we could clarify that the motion also includes closing the public hearing?
And that.
Okay.
Closing the public
Sorry,
hearing.
closing
We
the
have a
public
motion
hearing.
to close the public hearing and defer action to a future council.
On items I2 and I3, but to approve the remaining items.
Second.
Yes.
All right, I have a motion by Councilmember Wharton and a second by Dugan. Any discussion? It was made by Wharton, amended by Fui, seconded by Dugan. Do we have any discussion to this motion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Our final item, G4, is a grant application for a Financial Empowerment Center Academy. Before we begin taking comments, I'll turn the time over to Sylvia Richards, Council Policy Analyst, for a short introduction.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The city periodically applies for and receives grants which fund some city programs. Each grant will receive a public hearing, and this gives the council and the public an opportunity to learn more about the grants. Tonight is the Financial Empowerment Center Academy grant, which would fund a financial empowerment center with the aim of preventing housing instability and eviction through financial coaching with residents and identifying strategies for overcoming financial barriers for stable living. Again, this is an item for which the city applied.
Thank you, Sylvia. Taylor, please start with our first public comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We do not have anyone registered to speak to this item.
I will look for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that the council close the public hearing and refer items G4 to a future consent agenda for action.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Pui. I have a second, motion from Councilmember Dugan, a second from Pui. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. This brings us to our potential action items. So item H1 is an ordinance for an alley vacation near 1409 South Edison Street. I'll look for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that the council adopt the ordinance.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Pui and a second from Mono. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. We are now at the comment section for general comment. We'll start with questions for the mayor. Mayor Rachel, thank you for being here. Any questions? Thanks for being here. All right. We're now at the general comment portion of our agenda. This is for the public to comment on any city business not scheduled for a public hearing. This section is limited to a maximum of 1 hour and to only those individuals who registered to speak before 7:30. Our meeting rules apply to these general comments. Please avoid disruptions or threats, or we'll ask a staff member to assist you out of the meeting. Also, as a reminder, comments that include profanity, personal attacks, intimidation, or discriminatory language are not persuasive or compelling. They are not helpful to create a respectful and safe environment. To sign up to comment on any of the hearing items, please register online or turn in a comment card to the in-person staff. We accept sign-ups until 7:30. We'll be calling the names in the order of the sign-up. If you're on Zoom, please unmute your mic when your name is called. Each person will have 2 minutes. Please raise your hand in the room or on Zoom for staff assistance. If you're having technical issues in Zoom, our staff member Daffodil Booker can assist you. To help make sure that as many people as possible can speak during the hour, anyone in person should feel to come up and stand in line when you hear your name called. Please also avoid interruptions so that we can use the time for as many people to comment as possible. If you reach the 2-minute mark, the host will announce time and your microphone will be muted. If you're unable to finish your comment, please share the rest via email, mail, or call our office. Contact information is listed at slccouncil.com. If you have a handout for the council, please notify council staff who will assist you. Taylor, you can begin with our first general comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have about 7 people registered for general comment. The first will be Will Jamison, followed by Hillary Jacobs, and then Daniel Shelley. Will is here in person.
Hello, I'm Will Jamison. I live in the Sugar House area, and thank you for listening to me. My comments are about the increases in the utility bills. Used to be the city utility bill was my smallest utility. Now it is my largest. Last year, like it was $63. This year is $85 for the same amount of use of water. I'm the only person living in the house along with my dog, and I use 0.7 units of water at a cost of $1.46, but the actual cost with the service fees was $26. So that's only about 5% of what I'm paying for is actually water. The rest is service, and last year it was about 10%. So I don't really quite understand why these bills are so high. My electric bill, for instance, works out to be about 46%. The gas bill is about 78%. And then there's sales tax on top of that, which is 6% to the city and 5.5% to the state. So I think you could maybe look at some of this a little closer and see where things could be cut in cost. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Council staff, could we make sure we get his contact information? The mayor's office would like to help him with a few options.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, Taylor.
Next will be Hillary Jacobs, followed by Daniel Shelley, and then Kathy Faulkner. Hillary's here in person.
Hi, good evening. I'm Hillary Jacobs. 1. In February 2024, Public Lands promised to form a community stakeholders group to assist in preparing a land use management plan for the foothills. The public is still waiting. 2. In February 2024, Public Lands acknowledged the need for a comprehensive land use management plan for the foothills and promised to make such a plan. There still is no land use management plan. 3. In 2021, Mayor Mendenhall instituted a pause on all trail building. Above the 18th Avenue Meadows now, a huge trail is being cut deeply into the hillside with a backhoe and dumping the dirt downslope. This is construction, not maintenance. Why have companies who specialize in building mountain bike trails and parks, Shapeshift, Surface Trails, and Creative Trails, been contracted to do restoration work? And what funds are being used to pay for construction that is in violation of this pause? 4. After 4 years, Public Lands still has not posted trail etiquette signs to inform recreationists about basic considerate trail use. These signs don't have to be invented from scratch. There are internationally recognized rules for sharing outdoor recreational spaces, particularly who yields to whom. Why are we still waiting for these signs to be posted on lands managed by the city? 5. When will Salt Lake City hire a qualified land use manager who will steward the natural lands holistically into the future? This person must have the expertise to determine what are or are not responsible or respectful uses of the foothills natural lands. And that person must factor in the intrinsic value of nature so as not to compromise the ecosystems. And 6, here are yet more petitions and cards from people whom I promised to give to Mayor Mendenhall, who want to see proper management of the Salt Lake City foothills. People are incredibly unhappy that Salt Lake City has permitted Rocky Mountain Power to ransack the foothills, and people are tired that rather than being protected, the foothills ecosystems become more compromised each day. Thank you.
Next will be Daniel Shelley, followed by Kathy Faulkner, and then Randall Hoffman. Daniel's here in person.
Here she comes. Good evening. I didn't realize until about an hour and a half ago that City Council was a spectator sport, but it was pretty busy in here earlier. I'm here to talk briefly about the Bonneville Shoreline Trail. It's considered to be a gem of the Wasatch Front. It's used as advertising to encourage tourists to come visit Salt Lake City, and it's used by many people. What I want to say about it is it was built as a multi-use trail. It is advertised as a multi-use trail. The Trust for Public Land is seeking money to assist building more parts of it and stating specifically it is a multi-use trail. Now, I was out running on the trail. I've been running it for 30 years on Saturday, and I had an unfortunate experience, which is apparently not uncommon. Several mountain bikers came barreling down a steep hill, and I was trying to run up, and I had to jump out of the way. I asked them to slow down. I had to raise my voice because they were going very fast. And I was met with a string of expletives and a threat to my person. So, what I want to bring up is, for 4 years, Save Our Foothills has been asking public lands to post right-of-way signs. Who has right-of-way? Pedestrians always have right-of-way over bikes. Uphill always has right, etc. It is becoming, after being expanded, a de facto high-speed mountain bike, e-bike trail. I would ask the city council and the mayor to ask public lands to post these signs. I'm tired of asking. Right-of-way signs and statements that this is a multi-use trail. Keep in mind that in the last 2 years, the city has spent tens of thousands of dollars maintaining, expanding the Bonneville Shoreline Trail, hundreds of man-hours of city employees up there helping, and still no sign has been posted. They're empty signposts. And I encourage the city council and the mayor again.
Right. Next will be Kathy Faulkner, followed by Randall Hoffman, and then Soren Simonson. Kathy is here in person.
What was that name again, Taylor?
Kathy Faulkner.
Kathy Faulkner.
Anyone here?
Seems she may have left.
I think she left, Taylor.
We will move on to Randall Hoffman, followed by Soren Simonson, and then Betty Sawyer. Randall, you may now unmute.
My name is Randy Hoffman. I am an historian of LGBTQIA+ Utah and a co-founder of the nonprofit, the Mildred Berryman Institute for LGBTIQ+ Utah History. I will begin my master's in history at the U this fall, focusing on this. I would like to commend Mayor Mendenhall for her recent announcement and urge the council to fully adopt her emblems for the city. Salt Lake City has been home to LGBTQIA+ people well before and ever since the arrival of LDS pioneers. From mining camps to LDS primary leaders, and even our earliest recorded transgender Utahn and Salt Laker, Eva McCleary, queer and trans Utahns here lived, worked, resisted, and contributed to the city in profound ways. Salt Lake has been home to movements, nurtured leaders, and been a center for LGBTQIA+ visibility and change for over 70 years. Our history deserves public recognition in addition to the histories of our nation and its communities. These new emblems are not symbols, but acts of honorable remembrance. They will affirm that LGBTQIA+ people are not a recent arrival, but have been foundational to the city's cultural and civic life. Just like monuments or plaques, these markers tell a story and send a message. They say we were here, we are here, we will be here, and we belong here. I commend the city for remembering these emblems, or for embracing these emblems. They reflect Salt Lakers, our values of justice, inclusion, and truth. I urge your continued support for measures that make our public spaces representative of the diverse people who built and sustain it. Thank you.
And next will be Soren Simonson, followed by Betty Sawyer. Soren is here in person.
Thank you. You heard from me earlier. I'm just here now in my personal capacity to say thank you. Several months ago during a budget amendment, there was an action to waive some interest that had accumulated on a business loan that I had with Salt Lake City while we were waiting for some pandemic relief funds for a former business that I was involved with, Impact Hub Salt Lake, some of you are familiar with. I want to thank my council member, Sarah Young, for taking that to heart and presenting it to you, and I want to thank each of you for your willingness to consider that. Losing a business is a really hard thing to do. I left Impact Hub practically when I went to work for the Jordan River Commission and was only involved in occasional board meetings. When the pandemic hit and the partners saw the writing on the wall, I was left holding the bag as one of the major financial contributors to the launch of Impact Hub. And unfortunately, I will probably be retiring debt for many years to come from that enterprise. I am proud to say that the ecosystem around entrepreneurship that launched out of Impact Hub as the first co-working space in Utah has become a really thriving community, and I think you're all aware of the great work that's happening. We also launched probably around 250 social enterprises through the work of Impact Hub, many of which are thriving today, and I'm proud of that work. Mainly, I just wanted to come and say thank you for doing that. It was kind of a surprise when I ran into Sarah at a community council meeting, and she mentioned that this had just been adopted. I wasn't even aware it was on the agenda. And I was really, really grateful for that gesture by you. We will continue to watch this entrepreneurial ecosystem grow in Salt Lake City and thrive. And I appreciate the gesture and just wanted to come and say thank you.
And next will be Betty Sawyer. Betty, you may now unmute.
Good evening to the mayor and city council and staff that are still present. I'm Betty Sawyer. I am the director of the Utah Juneteenth Freedom and Heritage Festival. We're now in our 36th year of commemorating this across the state of Utah and have enjoyed the support of Salt Lake City and your mayor in participating in this event over the years. I'm here to encourage your support of the emblem recommendation that has been put forth by the mayor that again uplifts and honors this holiday. And Juneteenth is the newest state as well as federal holiday, having both been passed in the past 4 years. We look forward to continuing to celebrate and honor our heritage and our history in the state of Utah and in the city, of course. As a member of our National Board of Directors of Juneteenth National Observance Foundation, we are in support of this as well and look forward to being able to celebrate with Salt Lake City again this year at our themed event. This is the 160th anniversary of the first Juneteenth, and our theme is Together We Rise. And by valuing the contributions of all of us, we get to build and work and play together and honor our history and heritage. So again, I thank you for your past support and encourage your support of this emblem ordinance that has been presented this evening. Thank you.
And that was the final register.
Thank you so much, Taylor, and thank you to all of the commenters. This now brings us to our new business, which is J1, an ordinance for city flag standards. I will look for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that we adopt the proposed ordinance.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Wharton and a second from Councilmember Pui. Do we have any discussion on this, guys?
Yes.
I'm going to suggest we start down with Councilwoman Young.
Thank you. I know everyone's going to be commenting, so I'll try and keep my comments brief. When thinking about how to embrace the action tonight, I had to go back and think about one of my favorite places in Washington, D.C., which is the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial. Of the 14 quotes that are posted on that memorial, one of them reads, Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Today is an act of love. It is an act of love for every member of our community, whether adult, child, neighbor, family member. We are showing as a city that we love the residents and our community members. Everyone is welcome here in Salt Lake City. And I am incredibly proud of the mayor, our administration, and my fellow council members for being willing to take that stand of welcoming and love for the people around us. So I'll end with my other favorite quote from that particular monument. Out of a mountain of despair, a stone of hope. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilmember Dugan?
I can't add any more than what Councilmember Young said. I appreciate the quotes. It is also one of my favorite monuments, and I love all the quotes. So thank you. And thank you, Mayor, for the courage and the strength and the tenacity and the grit. Love it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Mono.
Thank you, and those were great words, Councilmember Young. Thank you. I want to personally say thank you for this to the mayor and to my colleagues. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to my family. And it's not a coincidence that we have a majority LGBTQ council. It's because this is the place within not just Utah, but within many states surrounding us where people like us feel safe. And I think there's a reason why people like us feel safe to both live here and also raise our hand to be a leader of a community in Salt Lake City. And so this is important and critical for us as a city, but more importantly for the people that live here to know that Salt Lake City continues to be a safe space for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Lopez Chavez.
Thank you to all my colleagues. Thank you to the mayor and your administration for your support and unconditional care for the residents in our city. This is very intentional. It's not a response to the state. In fact, I think it's a response to the joy and celebration of each resident and neighbor we have. There's nothing more beautiful than paying homage to the residents that make up everyday Salt Lake. And I'm so proud to be a part of the Queer Majority Council. I'm so proud to be somebody that's a BIPOC resident, daughter of immigrants, and to showcase our strength is found in the diverse experiences that each of us share and make up today. So thank you. I hope that each and every one of us can look up at each of these flags and find ourselves represented.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilmember Horton.
Thank you. I'm going to focus my comments on the pride flag, but I believe it applies to the Juneteenth and trans pride flags as well. The pride flag does not represent a single person or identity. It does not represent one party or even one ideology. It doesn't represent one class or one creed over another. The pride flag's main colors are red for life, orange for healing, yellow for sunlight, green for nature, blue for harmony, and purple for spirit or spirituality. Collectively, these colors represent our shared humanity and the highest ideals of freedom, perseverance, and love. I admit the pride flag is not neutral in this regard, but neither is the Christmas tree that we put up in City Hall in December. Neither are the covered wagons that we have come down our street in July. Yet we use these symbols to represent our diversity as well as our unity. These symbols remind us that although we may have come from many different backgrounds, orientations, and beliefs, we should all feel safe and that we belong here. I know some will see this issue differently than I do, and fortunately, in a democracy, the people we represent can choose to sustain or alter these traditions with their votes. What we're doing here tonight is following the democratic process, representing the values of Salt Lake City residents who've celebrated flying the Pride flag, Juneteenth flag, and Trans Pride flag over Washington Square for years without division or conflict. While there's a lot of attention on the proposal before us tonight, what we're really doing is acting to preserve a long-standing tradition in Salt Lake City while remaining compliant with changes in the state law. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Pui.
Thank you. This is a historic moment for our city. I'm actually thankful for the laws that have been passed, who allow our city to galvanize these flags as city flags, as official city flags, and it really, they show unity, and they show, you know, where they all come from, where we all come from, and I think it you know, it really is an opportunity for all of us to show that we are in this together, that this municipality cares for all communities, and many of those communities have been marginalized for many you know, decades. And I just want to say that the LGBTQ community and any communities of color represented by these flags are not just, they're not political. They highlight our diversity and that we are part of this community too. And these symbols, they're symbols about all of us. They're that we belong in this community and that you're welcome here. There are symbols that highlight that we are not invisible anymore. These flags are not meant to be kept in any closet anymore, and they need to be displayed. They need to be displayed, and they should show for those that are not represented by those flags some level of pride on their city government too. That this city government feels that they should, that this government and this building is embracing all. Even those that for many years and they never had a seat at their table. And here today we have 4 council members, members of the community, and a majority minority council, which is also historic. I actually think that this is one of the most American things that we could do today. Is this disagreeing, this allowing other voices that we might not like, and that's okay. This is what this American dream allow us to do, to have an opportunity to disagree in peace and vote our conscience. And I am thankful to be here in this moment with all of you. I'm thankful to the administration, to our mayor for this bold moment. I think that speaking out, this is our voice, and we have to be loud about our voice, especially in these moments, which for many in our community feel dark. And I feel like those flags, to many people in our street, will feel like some sort of beacon, a beacon of hope that everybody's welcome in this government, everybody's welcome in this city, and I am proud to be part of that moment. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, so I'm one of those policymakers who's almost Pollyanna-ish, believing that communication and talking to one another can solve almost any problem. So as I spoke to one of the sponsors of this bill, it was brought to my attention that some constituents of our own city asked for this to be run. They didn't feel included when the Pride flag was flown, when the Juneteenth flag was flown. And I don't like to negate voices, even if I don't share their viewpoints. I think being curious will help us. And so I want to say that I hear that. I am not trying to negate that here. However, as we pass a law that limits what we fly only to those things that quote unquote unite us, I wonder if we might not take a moment to think about the different experiences in America and what we're uniting behind. Because you see, my family left from ports in Italy and in Panama and Cuba and sacrificed to get here. And when they saw that American flag, it meant that they had crossed the Atlantic in safety and arrived at the place that they knew they were going to struggle. And they came here volitionally, and they changed their last names and they dug in. But what about the black man who signed up to fight in World War II and was accepted to use his body as fodder to accept a bullet in the name of our liberty, but then came home and was denied the right to buy a house and to protect his family with the generational investment that is, which now has statistical outcomes that are traceable? What does that flag mean to that family? Surely something different. Their sacrifice was no different than my family's. No, it was. They did not have a volition to come here. But surely that flag doesn't unify that community in the same way. What does it mean to the gay men who were left to die in an epidemic when I was growing up, that we had the audacity to assign a moral value to, and the lesbian community scraping together to give these men dignity to the last moments, even when they were falsely being told that they were putting themselves in harm's way doing so? As I looked out the windows of those languishing moments and saw flags flying in the cemeteries, surely that flag represents something different to them than it did to my family. I reject the notion that to love this country, to be a patriot, to accept the promise of this country, to dig in and want the American dream, I'm not allowed to tell the whole story of what happened here. I'm not allowed to say that the Black experience is tainted by a different lens when it looks at that flag. I am still called to create a world where future generations don't have to look at it through the same lens, through the work that we do. But for me to deny that reality and to call people to rally behind a flag that has been the symbol of the oppression, that has been the symbol of them being deprived of the American dream, that we yell at them now for underperforming by abstract metrics, there's nothing patriotic in that. Scarcity mindset and liberty can never coexist. Our founding fathers knew they didn't know what they didn't know, and that's why they created a constitution that had the flexibility to eliminate things like slavery. And when they codified that slavery into other ways, we have a mandate to continue eliminating it. They called for a more perfect union. Do we think Thomas Jefferson didn't know that perfect was an absolute state, yet he put more in front of it anyway? This is our calling to more perfection. We don't have to save the United States from the story of the United States, but we do need to pursue the more perfect union. And we need to understand that we, the people, doesn't have to be who you are. I have never met a gender role I don't like. Love heels, makeup, dresses. I would not know what it's like to not feel at home in my body. But when someone tells me that they do, I don't have to wonder about them. I can just trust them to be a subject matter expert on themselves, and I can pursue a more perfect union with that person. So now going forward, I would invite those constituents who don't feel represented or marginalized when they see a flag during Pride Month, during Juneteenth, during trans visibility, to see it as a momentary observation of us welcoming in those we are aware see the flag and don't see their story, don't see their prosperity, don't see their best interest. And it's an invitation that the next generation won't have as harsh a lens. We are working to make that flag for a place so rooted in Judeo-Christian principles, you would think we would love redemption lines more than expectations of perfection. The story of America is a story of redemption. So I'm proud that Salt Lake City is a place where we are perfecting our union constantly, where we, the people, is the guiding principle for what we do. I saw that on Twitter already. One of the sponsors is treating this with his typical comedy. I'll give him a call later and chat about it. Another sponsor is treating it like a policy arms race. And I just want to challenge all Utahns to demand better. This is our future. We're the fastest growing state in the nation. We have 45 guaranteed legislative days a year, and more time was spent on flags and bike lanes in the capital city than homelessness or the drying Great Salt Lake. Demand better. This cannot be a policy arms race for one viewpoint, for one culture war side to triumph over another. Bad policy demands bad outcomes for that policy. And I'm proud that we're doing that tonight. To my constituents who don't feel represented, I know there are some in my neighborhood who struggle with the trans issue. I'll come and talk to you. I'm A-okay with it. You don't have to tone police yourself with me. We will make space, but we will not compromise on the dignity of all Salt Lakers, of anyone who chooses to be here. You will see it in our budget. You will see it in the special observations, and you'll see it on a flagpole. We will use those flags to welcome home everyone who needs the American dream to be more perfect than it was yesterday for them. And we will all get to work together to stop this cycle of inane policymaking that refuses to observe the individual as the most dignified and valuable entity, and instead puts an ideology that prioritizes scarcity in front of our liberty. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I would like to highlight a piece of the mayor's comments on the flag, that this is not replacing the American flag. The American flag has flown outside our city hall for decades, forever, and it will continue to do so. So thank you, Mayor, for highlighting that piece. This is not to replace that, and it will continue to fly alongside all our official flags.
Thank you for that clarification. Is there any other discussion to this? And Mayor, thank you for your amazing words when you presented this. Then I say let's vote on this. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So that it is a unanimous support. Thank you. We will now move on to our unfinished business. Item K1 is a resolution for the tentative budget of Salt Lake City, including the tentative budget of the Library Fund for fiscal year 25-26. I'll look for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that the council approve the resolution adopting the tentative budget for Salt Lake City, Utah, including the tentative budget for the Library Fund for fiscal year 2025-2026.
Second.
Any discussion on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. This brings us to the consent portion of our agenda. I'll look for a motion.
Move for approval of the consent agenda.
I'm gonna go ahead and take Councilmember Wharton as the motion and Mono as the second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.